Andy Campbell, it's in! Campbell comes off the bench to be a hero, a superhero. Breakthrough. It's taken a while, but it's been worth the wait for Cardiff City.
Hey guys, I'm Si and welcome to A.C.E Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Football Show. This is episode number 82. The show is available live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter and Periscope. A.C.E Podcast Nation is also home to many great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. So give us a follow on social media, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're getting there as we get on our quest to get to the first long-term target. And of course you can follow the show if you just want to talk football at A.C.E Footy Show, and that's on all social media platforms, and of course the radio and podcasting platforms for the audio versions of all the shows, including the new Mental Health in Sport, which we dropped a new episode yesterday with none other than Mr. Andy Campbell. And just as we wait for all those platforms to fill up, a big shout out to Black Diamond Sports for all their help and support around the show. Black Diamond Sports is a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. For more information, you can visit their social media pages. The links are in the description and the closing credits, and of course their brand spanking new website. And the sponsor for today's show, as ever, Bespoke Financial, and here is a quick word from them.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and mummy and daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
Bespoke Financial specialise in life insurance, critical illness, income protection, mortgages and of course sports cover, and we thank them for sponsoring the show as ever. And I believe, I'm sure someone will tell me, but we can see my beautiful face this week after the mishaps of Friday. I don't know what was going on with that, but I was just a pixelated blur. But I believe you can all see me now. I'm sure someone will tell me if they can't. But with no further ado...
It's not a good thing, Si.
It was better when it was blurred. It's just a blob. Joining me as ever, my co-host, the co-host with the most, the fox in the box, the predator. No, that sounds wrong. The goal predator. The king of the Millennium Stadium, David Jones's favourite son, ex-Cardiff City and Middlesbrough striker, Mr. Andy Campbell. How goes it, my friend?
Good evening, gentlemen. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. This is an interesting journey from our guest, which I'm really interested to talk about. And he's, well, to be honest, I'm quite jealous because he sent me a video over yesterday of something that I always wanted to do. Two things I always wanted to do. One was play at Wembley. And then what goes with Wembley is the chance to score at Wembley, which has just been unbelievable. But yeah, I didn't get to do it. I take the Millennium Stadium, by the way. I've never ever swapped that moment ever in my life. But you know, there's just certain things in your life, isn't there? Dreams and aspirations, and people on about regrets. You can't have a regret of something what wasn't in my control. But I would have loved to walk out the Twin Towers. Would have loved it.
Yeah, and I guess as an Englishman and as an English child, you're going to have grown up dreaming of playing at Wembley, and you.
Yeah.
Did you ever play there for the under-21s? Did they ever play Wembley?
No. The closest I got, which was like a bit of a tease. I was 17th man in the Carling Cup final for Middlesbrough against Leicester as a 17-year-old boy. So I was disappointed, but I understood why. Because when people
Yeah.
like Ravanelli, Janino, Mikkelbeck keep you out the side,
Who are they? What have they ever done?
you tick on the chin, you know.
Yeah, what have they ever done?
Yeah.
Tonight's guest is a Guyana international, has played for clubs such as Fulham, MK Dons, Oldham, of course Newport County, local to me, and currently at Memphis, I think it's Memphis 901, and is Keanu Marsh-Brown. Welcome, Keanu. How are you, mate?
Hi guys, good. Good, and yourself?
Yeah, great to have you on, mate. Great to have you on.
Is that right? Memphis 901?
Yeah,
I
that's it. 901 FC,
I wasn't sure if it was like, I don't know what else it would be other than 901, but like Memphis something. Memphis 901. It's a good name. I like it.
How long have they been going? Keanu, do you know how long they've been?
This was their second season now.
Yeah, I thought they were newly renovated. So yeah, it's all interesting times over the States, isn't it? You know that obviously with the MLS taking off, the USL is just massive in comparison to where it was obviously years ago. You know what I mean? With new sides wanting to get the franchise over the US, but there's some big names, isn't there? Some big names over there.
Yeah, definitely. There's some big names playing, and some local clubs obviously taking over the clubs as a franchise. As part owners, obviously my club, we had Tim Howard as a part owner, sporting director. And then you've got like David, he's got his own club now over there, Nan Donovan. So a lot of American footballers are going into that route.
How important is that, Keanu, to raise the profile of American soccer, so to speak? You know what I mean? Because I know people get confused, don't they, when you say American football, because people think you start chucking a rugby ball around or wherever it is. But how important is it then for the profile and getting it out there by having those high profile soccer players?
No, I think it's good that obviously they played at the highest level possible, and they're going back there and trying to make an impact at that level, and trying to bring people overseas to come and play also over in America.
Yeah.
But when you're from the UK and you look over into America and you think USL, you don't think as much of it until you get there and you start playing, and you realise it's actually a very good league.
Yeah. Well, we've had a few
what
conversations.
sort of crowds do they get, mate? Sorry, and I was just going to ask. I was wondering what sort of crowds they get, like in the MLS, sort of just on a regular Saturday.
So at Memphis, we was averaging, obviously the first home game before the pandemic, we had 14.5 for the home game.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
Which is excellent.
So if you think of like League 2, League 1, I think you may be getting that as like a Bradford City, a big game at Bradford, or
blows them away.
The big clubs. Yeah. When I was at Newport, you're averaging maybe 2,500, 3,000 a game.
Is that why teams? You know, I know we're going to talk about your career in a minute. I'm just fascinated by like what you're saying, but is that? Do you think why teams in the UK struggle a little bit, Keanu? That you mentioned Newport, Forest Green, for example, two of your former clubs who would absolutely love to have those kind of attendances, because it would make the club bigger, it would generate more money, which then they could utilise in various ways.
Yeah, definitely. I think if clubs had a big fan base, obviously it's difficult, because if you look at Newport, the closest club to them is Cardiff, so a lot of the fans go there. But if they did have a big fan base, it would help those sort of clubs out massively.
When you were at Newport, did you live in Newport or did you live in Cardiff?
I lived in Newport.
Did you?
Just so a bit closer to Bristol, yeah, but
just curious,
near the training ground and stadium.
Yeah. No, fine. Yeah. We go straight into
go straight for it, mate.
Magnificent Seven. So 7 questions to get the viewers a little bit more aware of KMB 9.
Indeed.
Okay.
So the Magnificent Seven for Keanu Marsh-Brown. Messi or Ronaldo?
For me, it'd have to be Ronaldo.
And then I got a new question. This one, it's going to be a tricky one, I reckon. And it is: if you had to name an honest title for your autobiography now, what would it be?
What's a tricky one, that?
It is, isn't it? It's brutal.
I think.
What would yours be, Andy? While Keanu thinks.
I think I could name his. I could name it.
Yeah.
I think I would just go simple. I would go the KMB9, and what he's got in social media, because anybody who's watching the show, by the way, who doesn't follow Keanu on social media platforms, by the way, follow him, and he'll give you the details at the end on all the platforms what he has, because it's exhilarating to see how fresh. I sound cool now, don't I? How fresh and new some people's ideas are. You know, this is a 41-year-old man who's starting to get into social media. But no, it's really impressive. I like it. What would mine be? I'm going number. I'll go 114th for the playoff final.
Yeah, not bad. Not
That's
bad.
decent,
What would
decent.
any ideas for you, Keanu? What would yours be?
I'm stuck on it. To be fair, I probably would have something like maybe just Keanu.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Keanu, yeah.
Nice
like
and
that.
simple.
Just
that.
bold.
Favorite TV show?
At the moment, I'm watching Lucifer.
I bet you watched all the episodes. haven't you?
Unbelievable.
This week. I bet you
Not
watched
yet.
them all this week.
No, well, near enough. Yeah. Near enough.
Tell while we're on this as well, Keanu. Tell everybody. Obviously, you've come back from the States recently, so tell everybody what you are doing for the foreseeable.
Yeah, so obviously the last 3-4 days ago, I've just been back into the UK. So obviously we've got to go back into lockdown, like a little quarantine for 2 weeks. So me, my fiance, and a little daughter, I'm just in the house, literally just chilling, watching TV, eating as you do, going out for a little walk, and just sticking to the rules, basically. Sticking to the rules.
Sounds good,
it's
doesn't it?
the
But
best.
it's you know what, this would have sounded good about 6 months ago, but now it sounds like absolute torture, and I couldn't do it. I'll be honest. You know, I thought that sounded like a dream 6 months ago. Now it's an absolute nightmare, and I can't do it. Can't do it.
The crazy thing is, when I was in USA, obviously it was the same thing. We was on lockdown, but I was going out for runs down by the beach or down the river. I just had that little bit of like freedom. But now it's just when you're in the house, it's like I'm really stuck in the house. Yeah,
difficult, man. It's difficult. I don't envy that, because it's difficult as well with kids as well, because fresh air, you know, and it's difficult, and sticking to the rules. It's important, because obviously this is not going away unless we do something about it, and you know what I mean.
That's why we have to keep going into lockdown, mate, because people can't stick to the rules. But anyway, that's another subject. So Lucifer, by the way, is cracking choice. Angriest teammate?
Angriest team, probably Dale Bennett. Played for Watford in the Championship, and then on that Forest Green. But he was probably the angriest guy I've ever known in football.
Least favourite manager to play for?
Probably Adrian Pennock.
And least favourite manager to play for, which is a bit naughty. That is, when you're still playing. Should have taken that one out, really.
Least favourite to play for.
That could be various reasons.
I've got two, to be honest.
There you go. Throw on both.
That's what I like to hear.
Well,
early doors.
I would say, like, coaching wise, probably one of the best coaching, like mentally get into your head and take you to another level, be Mark Cooper. But after a while playing for him as a man management for a player, like that's a lot of words I'd probably want to say.
He has got that reputation, though, Keanu. He has got that reputation. It'll be quite hard and quite tough. You know what I mean? Which comes across. You know what I mean? We've had a few people on here who've been quite honest and been open about the kind of managers, man management in particular. You know what I mean? It's so key, especially with 2020 now. You know what I mean? Players, it's old school management about. You know what I mean? I was brought up on that, and sometimes you need an arm around your shoulder and a little bit of love and a little bit of care and attention. It doesn't really always happen.
Yeah, it's one of them. But to be fair, I enjoyed my time down there, and like obviously we got promoted in that team, so I'll never forget that. But
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And the last question is the greatest Guyana player to ever play.
Well, I've been in the squad probably a year and a half now.
All right, change it then. Who's the best player you've played with in that year?
Probably Neil Dans. He had a great Gold Cup tournament. He scored 3 goals in 3 games.
He had a great career as well, though, didn't he? He had a great career.
Yeah, he's had a great. Every time we've played, he's been consistent in the games. So
and now he's got himself on Sky Sports. I saw 2 weeks ago. He got himself on Soccer Saturday, and do you know what? I thought he did really well. I thought he commentated on the Tranmere game as well, and I thought he did a really good job. I thought he was very honest, very open, and he's a likeable fella. You know that I think it's
better than Matt Letizia, mate.
Probably the scouts that comes out of him, which is nice. You know what I mean? And he's probably one of the easiest ones to understand. But he's that was very. I really enjoyed watching.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, totally agree.
Good shout. I was looking at the just on Wikipedia of the Guyana squad earlier, and there's some really talented players in that squad. What's kind of like the aims with that with that team going forward now in the next year or two? Because obviously Guyana's not the biggest country and biggest name in international football, but they've improved massively over the years as the years have gone by. What are their aims in the next couple of years?
So I think from last year, when we had the Gold Cup, we kind of got a core squad together, which players that would never have been called up or never thought about playing got together, and I think that was down to one of the head of recruitment guys, Faisal Khan, and then coach at the time with that Michael Johnson, who's now working with England under 21s with AD Bruford.
He's doing he's had a really strong few years, hasn't he, Michael? You know what I mean? That he earned his stripes, and when he got the job, that he recruited really well, got the right players in the right positions, and obviously used his network of the UK. And around the world to get the best players, because and that's key, mate, isn't it, for me? Because as a manager, as a coach, you want to excel, and how can you excel? By sticking with players who aren't playing at as high level as other players. You want to pick the best players available, and if that's from people whose parents or grandparents were born in the country, then you know what I mean. So be it. It happens all over. It's happened for England, happens for Wales, happens for Scotland. You know, so for me, you've got to utilise it.
Yeah, I think the goal for us now is to qualify for another Gold Cup, which is next year, 2021, and just keep that core players together.
How achievable is that?
Well, we done it for the club there for the country's history. That was the first time we done it last year. Yeah. And that was an amazing feeling because we qualified at home for the country, and just for everyone, like on a personal note, like you can remember that for the rest of your life, you know. And it is achievable again. If you look at our group that we got, I don't see why we can't qualify again and go even further and try and push for a World Cup qualifications, because the way it's set up now,
I totally agree.
It's a bit easier for teams to get in there.
I totally agree. What were the celebrations like back in Guyana? Was it crazy? Was everybody treated like kings and heroes because of what happened?
Yeah, I think it's the craziest thing I've ever experienced in football, because everyone just swarmed the pitch. I played the game with my older brother, because he's centre back. So that was like a proud family moment. He's the one that taught me how to play football. Yeah. So then the fans came on the pitch, and then we had like a big celebration after. And we just had a massive party. We just had a massive party in the hotel.
Well, that was probably one of the questions I was going to ask you later on, but I'll just focus on now because you've gone on about it. So obviously, you know what I mean, highlights of your career, you know what I mean, family moments, you know what I mean, people who inspire you to become the person that you've been now and the player that you become. So did your brother have that much of an influence on you playing football then? You know what I mean, obviously, and then the dream and the aspiration to play alongside him in the same side and get the result and the performance that you needed to achieve greatness, really.
Yeah, I think he's the main reason. I think when I can think of it, I think I was like 4 or 5 years old when I heard, like, from maybe 3 or 4, I had a nappy on, and he always used to take me outside, and I would just be kicking the ball to him or just doing what he was doing. And then I got to an age when I was like 6, 7, and I'm going to play with his friends. I'd be getting battered around, but it made me more stronger the way I am. And when I go to play now, I've always got that mentality in my head from growing up and learning the things he taught me how to play, and always keeping that with me. So he was probably the main reason why I played football. Yeah. Which is it's just refreshing. You know, it reminds me a little bit of my upbringing with my brother. That I knew, I had the same thing for myself, that I'd be playing with his mates, and
and they get bullied around and get kicked around. But it gets you ready for it, and it gives you something that you can aspire to and be able to, for me, to know what's coming next.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is key. So, Si, we've got a few things that we want to discuss, haven't we? You know what I mean? There's been a few things what have happened this week. Do you want to
start us off?
Do you want to select the first one or the first one?
Yeah, there's all these subjects. There's kind of I think we're going to get some opinions on all of them. So we'll start off nice and light. Obviously, on Friday, we discussed Harry Maguire and his nightmare start to the season, and really since post-lockdown he's had an absolute nightmare. He got arrested, he's been dreadful on the pitch, he scored some own goals, been sent off, and we discussed Friday night we discussed whether he should play, should they take him out of the firing line a bit just to let him get his head together. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer stuck with him, kept the faith, backed him. He scored a fantastic goal, and I thought he was excellent, and I think that shows an incredible mentality, because he isn't just in a bad run, he was in a horrific run of just about on and off the pitch. Nothing was going right for him, and I think it takes a real, basically balls of steel, mate, to go and do that for one of the biggest clubs in the world. I thought it was outstanding. Don't know what do you think, Ant? Because obviously I asked you Friday, and you seem to be kind of leaning towards backing him and keeping him in, but you could also see the logic to keep giving him a break as well.
Yeah. When I saw the team, and I looked for the team, I don't normally look for the sides. I wasn't that bothered, but it was the first name that I looked for on Saturday night, and I thought fair play to Wally to give him another shot. If he'd have been on the bench, I'd have gone fair play to Wally for pulling him out. So you know what I mean. He was in a no lose situation. I don't think on Saturday, but he was in a no win situation as well. If he'd have played badly, the manager would have looked absolutely stupid. And the way the game started, with losing the goal after a minute, put more pressure on the back four, the way that it went in off Luke Shaw. I know it was nobody's fault, but it puts more pressure on the team and on individual. And I thought Harry was just magnificent. I thought he led the line really well. He won his headers, won his battles, scored a very good goal.
It's a proper centre-back's goal, wasn't it?
Dominant. And you know what? He was. I think basically what he did is shoved two fingers up to everybody and shows how good he is. But for now, just go and kick on now. Go and kick on. Go and put all this to bed. Go and put this Greece situation to bed. Go and put the England sending off to bed. And just go and be the best footballer that he is. And he's shown everybody for years, because he's very talented. He's just, for whatever reason, maybe he needs this to kickstart his season. You know what I mean? Forget what people are saying. You know what I mean? You don't become a bad player overnight. No. And he's very talented, and he's had an amazing career, and I expect him now to kick on again.
Yeah, and I think the other aspect to it is, look, he had a good season last year. United haven't started very well either, which don't help. Keanu, did you see the United game on, was it Saturday night?
Saturday night, yeah.
Yeah, I caught up with the highlights, watched much of the day and a bit after that, so I caught up on that.
What do you think of Maguire's performance and the pressure?
Yeah, I think he had a strong performance. I think it takes a lot of guts to go out there, especially he's a captain, so a lot of eyes are going to be on him. And to play the way he did, obviously he got the goal, so that'll be massive for his confidence. And I think it's just his managers had faith in him. Obviously his teammates are backing him, and that's what it is. I think just English media they just kill their players, which should be protecting. He could be England's captain, and the media are the first ones to just slander him all the time. And I think, I know he's been having a few bad games, but they could make it a bit better by protecting him, not putting him on the back page all the time.
You said there, Keanu, about
sells, doesn't it?
Yeah, you said there about the manager backing his player. Obviously, Ollie backed Harry at the weekend. How important is it for a manager to back a player, for a player's mentality more than the other side?
Yeah, it's massive. I think I've been there where you've not had a few good games, and I've had it both ways. The manager's pulled me out, and your confidence just gets shot. It could go the other way, like your confidence gets shot. You don't go back in the team, you get like 15 minutes here and there, and you're thinking, oh, am I really a bad player? Or the manager sticks with you, puts you in, gives you that faith, that confidence, and you start repaying because you think, oh, this guy, like, he's got faith in me, he appreciates me as a player. And then you would know as a player yourself, when you play for the manager, you're like, I'll do anything for him, you know what I mean?
I've always said all along, I always use the same terminology, that the players run through brick walls for managers who would go the extra mile for a player. You know, if a manager backs you and backs you publicly, in-house and publicly, you know what I mean, you'll go above and beyond. And it's absolutely a credit to Ollie and to his players that, you know what I mean, he made some huge calls at the weekend, by the way, Si.
Dropped a few boys,
he dropped
didn't he?
5 players. He dropped the World Cup winner. He put some people in. So
Daniel James was in there.
The easiest decision was to drop Harry Maguire or to rest Harry Maguire. You know what I mean? Because he didn't say he dropped Paul Pogba. So it would have been very easy to do that, but he didn't. He did it because he picked the side which he thought would win the game. And yes, they left things till late, but they absolutely battered Newcastle for long periods.
Yeah, it could have been a lot more, couldn't it?
Let's be the result matched the performance. You know what I mean? Regardless when they scored, and for me, it paid over the cracks for Newcastle to score in three late goals.
Yeah.
But they battered them from the first to the last, and it was the worst thing Newcastle did was score after 2 minutes.
Yeah. Here's I want to throw this question to you two quickly. Kind of links into this game. So, football Premier League fans specifically at the moment, if you've got the full Sky package, it's about £80 a month. BT then another 20 quid a month. A lot of Premier League clubs you have to keep paying your season ticket to keep that. So like that can be anything from 40 to 80 quid a month. If you were a United fan on Saturday, the only way to watch Man United play was then to pay 15 quid on top of that. So on top of all that monthly outgoings, and this is while, you know, half the country's in lockdown and people are being furloughed and all this sort of thing. What do you think of that? Like, to me, I just think from the out, you know, I'm a complete outsider when it comes to football. I'm just a fan. But like, to me, I think it's ridiculous, and I think it's taking the mick out of the fans, so like more than they ever have. I find it leaves a really bad taste in my mouth. But I wondered what, like you guys do, obviously as an ex-player and a current player, how you feel about it. Keanu, go on. We'll go to you first on that, mate. What do you think of it?
The way I think about it, you'd probably think I'm a bit mad, but coming from like people that work at Sky Sports, but I think the way the world is right now and what everyone's going through, I think they should put some of these games just live for free on TV. Because what are people going to be doing on the weekends? They're going to be at home bored. If you put football on the TV or sports,
which they did, by the way, they did that. Yeah. They did it on BBC. They put some rubbish games on, but it was still
didn't last long though, did it?
Yeah, and you can imagine that if they looked at viewers that actually was watching the game, it probably went up because they'd be like, oh, I'm gonna watch this game.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, I know my dad's in the my dad watching because he just sent me a message there, saying he's very impressed with the guest, which is great. But we watched. We did a lockdown Zoom call with all the lads. My dad jumped on board. We all got a lager or two. We watched Bournemouth against Norwich game, which was nice that we all instead of going to the pub together, which we always used to do, and we watched the game together, which was great. But Si, would I expect any football fan to pay about £200 a month to watch me play a game? No, I wouldn't.
Disgusting, mate.
I wouldn't. I'd be absolutely distraught. And if I didn't play well or I didn't perform, I'd feel a little bit of guilt as well, because it's not just about picking my money up; it's about entertaining. I look at the Leicester City game against Aston Villa last night. Same thing again. You're paying to watch a drab game, you know. Yes, there's two good sides playing, and there's some very good footballers on show. But it's a drab game. If I'm going to pay money, I want to watch a 5-5 draw. But you know what I mean? And then you probably would pay it, but you don't know before you start doing it. And I'm disappointed with the FA. I'm disappointed with the Premier League. I'm disappointed with the clubs, because this big project, the clubs are saying about passing money down to EFL clubs. Well, how about supporters of their own clubs? You know what I mean? They're doing them a disservice for me and charging them extortionate amounts of money all the time by doing
it's
this.
Expensive
you know what I mean?
enough paying for Sky, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Listen. If you didn't have to pay for your season ticket, then I could understand it. But you don't pay your season ticket, you lose your seat, someone else takes it over. When lockdown's finished and COVID's gone away, you can't watch your beloved side again anymore. And I just think it doesn't sit right with me.
Does it potentially? Do you think it potentially could drive fans away from the game when fans are allowed back into stadiums? Because like, if you just followed social media Saturday and Sunday, there was a lot of fans saying I'm not paying it, and like kind of protesting it. And I just wonder whether you're running the risk of, when fans are allowed back in, they turn around and say, well, no, you know, you took the mick when we couldn't come and watch you. Why should we now fork out? And I just think it's a bit of a risk. Like, go on.
Like, obviously, fans will be allowed back into the stadium, but their situation might still be the same. They could still be furloughed and still be going through a lot of things on the outside world. Obviously, that football is a bit of an outlet or a release, but if they've been treated the way they did, if same way if you're a player, you get treated the same, like a certain way by a club, or you're going to feel like a bit disrespect, and you're not going to want to do it as you want to.
100%.
You're going to feel
absolutely bang on, and you know what I mean. For me, football's got to come together. You know what I mean. They've got to come together. So they're charging Premier League games. What's next? Playoff final, championship games, top championship games, top EFL
FA,
games.
can you imagine FA Cup
final?
Can you imagine that?
The thing is, I don't get is there's so much money in the Premier League and in the FA and Premier League, EFL, blah, blah, blah. One of the transfers, say in the Premier League, if they donated, like, say you buy a player for like 40 mil, 30 mil, if they donated like a transfer fee, Championship, League 1, League 2, that was sorted them out for a long time. You know what I mean? Like clubs in there.
100%.
Canny, you must have been listening to some of our previous shows, because listen, I don't know if you follow him on Twitter or follow him on social media, but Simon Jordan is the most underrated, opinionated football person in the world. He had an idea of doing a Netflix idea, and I love him. To be honest.
Andy's got a crush on Simon Jordan.
But you know what? He's a businessman and he talks sense, and he looks after the supporters of the football clubs. And listen, if you pay £10.99 a month, and you can get every single game that you want to watch, because every team's got their own stream and every team's got their listen, that's the way that we want to watch football, because people will find a way. By the way, and there's a few comments in the group chat 100%. Which we can see. People will find a way watching games. People can find a way of doing it.
I was finding a way in America. Like, I was 7 hours ahead.
Exactly.
And I couldn't get. I had to wake up like 6 in the morning. And I was going on like these dodgy sites just to try and watch a Premier League game.
Well, that's all it'll do, is drive people to watch streams, basically, innit? They'll find whether it's Fire Sticks or IPTV, whatever it may be.
One thing I think was good was the Amazon Prime account. So I had an Amazon Prime account. I think I paid like, I think it was like $7.99 a month. Yeah. And then they started putting the Premier League games live on there. Yeah. I think and
good games as well, by the way. Some decent games. Yeah.
The thing is with that is a lot of people have got Amazon Prime anyway. So what you find then is you're getting rewarded for having something which you've already got, and you get Premier League games. You're not having to. It's not like an extra expense, or if it is, like you say, it's like $7.99 a month, not £80 on Sky or whatever. Yeah. But we got lots to talk about, so we're going to move on. Next, I think we'll go to Sergio Aguero versus Sean Massey. Obviously, friend of the show and co-host of the Kevin McNaughton Show on A.C.E Podcast Nation. Little plug. Revamped, unscripted, uncensored shows coming soon. Obviously, Kev flattened Sean Massey a couple of years ago, unintentionally. So after seeing the reaction to Sergio Aguero placing his hand on the back of her neck, I wonder what reaction Kev would have had if that had happened in today's current climate. Before I have my rant, I'm gonna let you two gentlemen have your say on it. Andy, we'll go to you first this time. What did you make of the incident between Aguero and Sean Massey, but also the reaction from pundits, social media, etc.?
What did I think of it? There wasn't an incident to think about. It was just, there was absolutely zero in it, nothing in it for me. And the reaction is it's outrageous. You know what I mean? There was people over exaggerating about what he'd done. He's touched a female, and then people backing him saying he's done nothing wrong. You know what I mean? The people making a big thing out of nothing. The way that I look at it is that the distance between officials and players nowadays is outrageous. You know, that you can't even have a conversation with them without even having a little bit of fun and a little bit of banter. You know what I mean? I'm not saying what he's done is right or it's wrong. What I'm saying is I don't think in that instant he did anything wrong to determine and to get all this kind of abuse that he's doing wrong. And he's done wrong. And I look at loads of female comments on social media that are backing him, saying that it shows respect. You know what I mean? Because he would have done it to a female linesman, referee, whatever that may be. You know, and I just think something big's been made of it, which shouldn't have, and that's going to cause a bigger problem if we're not careful.
Keanu, what did you make of it, mate?
Similar to Andy. I think in the heat of the moment in the game, when you're in that game moment, if a decision don't go your way and you're right there, you'd be like, ref, like, liner, you might put your hand on him or you might touch him. You're not doing it in a certain way. Obviously, I know it's a woman, but like you said, it took a day, like 24 hours, and then everyone's come out of the woodwork and trying to blow it up and make it. And if you look at the Sergio Aguero, you know he's not that kind of person, you know what I mean? He's not that kind of character to do anything. And the way he done it as well, he didn't go up to her and grab her and be like, check her.
You could also look at where he touched her. You know what I mean. It wasn't anywhere inappropriate. It was. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it's a bigger picture.
I saw some comments on social media from like not just fans but pundits and journalists and stuff. I didn't like some of the implications that were being made, like that he had done something like massively like inappropriate, and it was just like really blowing it up, but not just blowing it up that he put his hands on an official as such, but also it was like this really seedy kind of like, it was just, I didn't like it at all. I thought there was nothing in it, and I just thought like
that's what he's done, hasn't he? That's what he's done.
He's done nothing.
He's put his hands on an official. That's what he's done.
That's it. But
you know what I mean?
But to me, it was like, I don't know, maybe I misinterpreted it, but to me it just looked like it was like a friendly arm on the shoulder while he was waiting for the ball, and it was a kind of like whatever he said, whether it was "come on, that was our throw" or whatever.
come on, linesman, that's our ball. And listen,
it was nothing like.
I think where officials
aggressive
are now is and ref, how mouthy they are on the pitch, and like you said, you can't even speak to them. I think if it was an issue, she would have radioed it in straight away and said to the ref on the pitch or to the fourth, and then he either would have got booking or dealt with after the game straight away. But because you can get yellow card and red carded after the game now, so I think if it was that much of an issue for her, she would have said something.
She would have said something, Andy John there says we're all correct.
Yeah, well, Donna makes a good point. There you go. You know what I mean? And Donna's a keen watcher of the show that made a big of it, because made a big point of it. And Donna's a woman, you know what I mean? And Donna doesn't make. Listen, women have come out and they've backed Aguero. You know what I mean? So it would be the other way around, and people would. You know what I mean? I do agree, but that's not. I don't know. I don't agree.
I found the reaction specifically infuriating, I gotta say. And I did like Pep's reaction, that it was like, ask me something else, that's ridiculous, basically get lost, like, I want to talk about football. Right, let's move on. Wayne Rooney and COVID, oh dear. Mate, Andy, what are we going to do with these people? I don't get it. Don't understand it.
Do you know what makes me mad as well? We just had a conversation here with our guest who was doing the right thing and trying to help people out and trying to help his own family out and trying to help other people out, by the way. And then we've got somebody who's so high profile who can make such a bad judgment of error. You know what I mean? Do
you blame him? Do you blame him though, or do you blame his mate?
I blame both.
Rooney should have sent him away, should he?
I blame both. I don't think you can take that risk now. I don't think you can take that risk. Unless you're 100% sure and he's in your bubble, I don't think you can take that risk with anybody because of how dangerous and how this is spreading. You know what I mean? Because we're getting told to stay within your bubble, stay within your... You know what I mean? I've got loads of people that I would love to go and see. You know what I mean?
I haven't seen my mum for like 7 months, mate.
If you know what I mean? I see my dad over Zoom. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if I'd love to go and see him, but because for health reasons and because he's living in an area
rules,
which, well, we're trying to, and we are, and that's just, and it's not fair. But it's all right for somebody who's high profile to go and see the friend when you don't need to.
When he knew that he had been, at the very least, his mate knew that he had been in contact with someone who had it. Yeah, and from what I read this morning, he knew he had had a phone call to say that he had it as well. So why he would then go and see his friend knowing that he's got it, I really don't know. But so in your opinion, just I was going to ask you, should Rooney, when his mate has turned up on his door to give him this gift, it was a watch, I think, or something, should he have sent his mate away?
Yeah, 100%. Just say, just leave it on the door. I'll get it in a minute.
It's interesting. It's interesting, mate, because like I know people who are not, not sticking to it. Like Wales is today they announced Wales is back on full lockdown for 2 weeks now, from half term and the week after. So the kids are off school, some of them, and all the pubs and clubs are shut and that. And I saw loads of people moaning about it, and I don't want to stay on this too long. And they were saying, "Oh, what's the point? Blah blah. We're in lockdown again." Blah, blah. But the reason keep going backwards every time we get somewhere is because people, whenever they say, "Right, don't do this," or stick to it, just one household in your bubble, people don't stick to it. So then the numbers or whatever spike, and then they go back again. And it's like, just listen to the guidance.
This is my issue, Si. You know what I mean? If we're all going to do it, it's going to go away faster than it came. If we're not going to do it, or some people aren't going to do it, it's going to linger around. If we all don't do it, it's going to be forever. But why should some people decide they're not going to do it, and some people decide they are going to do it? Because they're the ones who seem to get punished.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Keanu's having to isolate for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? In 2 weeks' time, when he's allowed out, we could be back in lockdown again, for example, because nobody knows what's around the corner.
No.
So that's unfair. You know what I mean? So, but then he could easily decide now, I'm going out tomorrow because Wayne Rooney does it. So why shouldn't I? But it's selfish, and it's a selfish thing to do. And he's done a selfish act. He's letting someone in his own house. Would I let somebody in my own house? When I've got kids, I've got family, I've got a wife. Would you do it? You wouldn't. Well, I wouldn't. And I hope that he's not stupid enough to think that he would, especially with the responsibilities that he's got as a sportsman as well, because he knows that he's not just having an impact on himself and his family. He's also taking that back into Derby County tomorrow, for example, and he's going to infect everybody else.
I find it infuriating. Like I said, he should have. He really should have. He's not a kid, is he? You know, Wayne Rooney.
Ran over.
Yeah. Well, I'm annoyed, mate, because my sister-in-law's pregnant. I haven't seen her and my brother for months. I haven't seen my mum properly. I saw my mum 5 minutes about a couple of months back. I haven't seen her for 7 months. And then I see people having parties and doing whatever they want.
Oh, don't get my dad to tell her how to use Zoom. Oh my God, it's like the blind leading the blind trying to get my dad on Zoom.
Well, she had a new phone yesterday. I'll just tell this quickly. She had a new phone. I phoned her yesterday, and she kept hanging up every 60 seconds. I was like, "Are you in a bad signal or bad area or something?" "No, I'm at home." I said, "Well, why do you keep hanging up?" And she goes, "Oh, I don't know how to work my phone." And she was just hanging up the phone every couple of seconds.
Quality.
Bizarre, mate. And then finally, I know you wanted to talk a bit about VAR because we haven't talked about it for a while.
No, and to be honest, I'm glad we haven't spoken about it for a while because it means that it's been irrelevant. But there was a couple of high-profile incidents at the weekend. One in particular was the Liverpool derby against Everton. 2 incidents in the game. Obviously, the last goal, which it's black and white. It's offside because that's the way that they've done it. It's not offside in layman's terms in real time because. For me, it's quite level, but for me, because you're putting all these daft lines on the pitch, it is offside, and you've got to go by the rules. I didn't like what I saw earlier on with Jordan Pickford and the tackle on Virgil van Dijk, who now needs a quite serious knee injury.
ACL, was it?
Yeah, which is obviously nearly 12 months out. You know what I mean? 9 to 12 months out, which is going to be horrific for him, and a huge loss to Liverpool, especially. You know what I mean? I looked at it, and I looked at it again, and thought, how could you know what I mean? For me, I know it's offside. But you've still got to look at the incidents after, because if we're playing the game now and you're the referee side and you blow the whistle for offside, but I go and punch Keanu in the face, just because the whistle's been blown, I've done it off the ball. So that incident is off the ball incident. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not saying he did it on purpose because I don't believe he does. You know what I mean? I know of Jordan through other people, and he's not like that at all. But what he did there was horrific. You know what I mean? And it should have been. There's got to be a sanction for it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying send him off. I'm not saying ban him retrospectively. But someone's got to look at it and go, "Oh God, that's nasty. That did he mean it? Did he turn his back?" Which I believe he did a little bit, and it was a half-hearted tackle. But it's
England's number one, mate.
Well,
is he though?
Not in tackling. He's not.
Right, there you are. Quick fire question for both you. If you had to pick your England number one now, who is it? Keanu?
Probably. I like that. What's his name? Is it Pope?
Yeah, Nick Pope. Yeah, just kept a clean sheet tonight again.
Yeah, I like Pope.
Yeah, I would pick
I
him
like a
as
few. I
worst
like
one.
Ben Foster, even though he's quite old. I like Ben Foster
I like
as well.
Ben Foster, yeah.
Oh,
I
he
like
should
Ben
have
Foster.
Ben Foster should have about 50 caps for England, in my opinion. What about you? Would you go with Pope as well, and?
I'm a big fan of Henderson. I'll be honest. I really do like him.
That's his name, Henderson.
He's not playing as much now, which is going to have an impact on him progressing and moving forward. He needs to play. These kind of players need to play, and he's not going to play where he is now for the foreseeable. I do like Nick Pope, but yeah, David Seaman for me, always.
Yeah, another one who should have had a load of caps for England, I think, is Tom Heaton.
Yeah. It's hard though, isn't it? Because England have always been quite selfish with goalkeepers. They've always stuck by one and had the backup who never played in friendlies, who never played in international games, qualifiers, etc. So they never really give the second or the third or the fourth choice a chance to excel and see if they can do it at that level, which is a shame.
We just had an influx of questions about
the
offside. So I'll put this to you both forward players. Would you rather have VAR, whereby if it's offside, it's offside, whether it's by a fingernail or not? If it's offside, it's offside. Or would you rather have the old days where the linesman makes the choice and you're gonna have like a bit of leeway either way, and they generally will give the advantage to the attackers? Would you rather it just be the right decision, even if it seems pedantic at the time? Keanu, what about you as a current player, obviously? Would you rather have like that VAR and the
way VAR's
decision
going now, I'd probably rather have it like how it used to be, with just the linesman making the decision. I know like VAR is new.
That's a centre forward talking that. I love that.
Yeah, like the way VAR is now, for me personally, I think it should only be used in the box, like set pieces, or to see if there's a penalty. Other than that, I don't think it should be used. The same like a review, like tennis, when you're playing tennis, just to pick up on little things. Other than that, like now they're starting to use it for.
I like that way
for everything.
I like that way of thinking.
And getting a lot of it wrong.
The issue I have, Keanu, is I'd hate it. You know what I mean? What your thoughts are? If you scored a goal and you can't really celebrate until you find out that definitely they've scored a goal, and then by the time you find out definitely you scored a goal, 2 minutes later,
the
that buzz in that
passed.
moment's gone. Yeah, so you haven't got that buzz that you've scored a goal. And that could be your first ever goal. It could be your last ever goal, and it could be a little bit ruined. I don't get it. For me personally, I would like to go down the route of, if it's going to be in and they're going to keep it in, I'd like it to be a body part. So I'd like to say, let's say feet. You know what I mean? So if your feet are onside, you're onside. You know what I mean? Because you could be stretching for the ball. Which body part are we talking? You know that for me, we play
You're not
football
going to score
without
with your hands.
Exactly. So we play football with our feet, and so your feet are the part of your body which has to be offside to be offside, because your feet are always going to be the other side of the defender, always. If they're not, you're offside.
Who was this incident? What game was this incident in?
The Liverpool game. Liverpool against Everton.
Liverpool Everton. Yeah, it was spot on decision.
Last minute goal.
No, was it? You're joking. Spot on decision.
When I say last minute, it was 93rd minute.
Oh, what a decision! Well done, VAR.
And it was a mistake by Pickford as well. So he's got off quite lightly as well.
Sounds like he got away with a bit then yesterday.
Yeah, he did, to be honest.
Yes. Well, right. Let's move on. Let's talk to our guest a bit about his career. But before we do that, let's have a couple of questions from the live chat, because there is
I've got loads.
A lot.
Loads, yeah.
So I'm going to scroll all the way back up to the top. We'll leave that one from Gaz for a bit. Probably have to wait for the post watershed.
I've seen that there, yeah.
Reese said, he said Memphis fans were cool. What's the biggest difference between English and American football?
I would probably say English is just probably a bit more physical.
What about the pitches, Keanu?
The pitches in America are probably the best I played on.
Yeah, well, I'm going on the videos, obviously, that I've seen, the pictures that I've seen, and then I see obviously the pitches in the UK. Unless you're playing at Leicester City, by the way, we've got the best groundsmen in the world. Then the pitches don't even compare.
Yeah, I think like even some of the pitches, obviously in USL, like you go to every stadium and they're top class, top. They are top.
How did you struggle? Or did you struggle with the conditions, so weather? How did that affect you? Because obviously, and bear in mind, Si, I'm not being anything but obviously the weather in Cardiff is quite similar to the weather in Middlesbrough at the minute. It rains a lot and it's very cold. But so how did you enjoy your the weather conditions playing football out there?
So to be honest, I enjoyed it a lot because it was hot at the beginning. It was roasting. Then we got to about June, July, August time when it was just uncontrollable. It was about 35, 40 degrees. And the humidity was about 90%. So all the games would be at night, so it would cool down a bit. But we had one game at about 3 o'clock, and it was like the hottest point of the day. Literally every match day.
I'm not going to be hard, man.
I'm not going to sit here and feel sorry for him, though, are we? Come on.
I
enjoyed it.
Playing in the sun.
Nah, to be fair though,
that was only
in
Memphis. When we went to a different state, it was different. So we went to North Carolina, and it was kind of like England. And you're like, it feels so nice. It's cold.
Yeah, I bet.
So is that different? Is that difficult then, Keanu, for other players? I mean, American players, to get used to. You know what I mean? Because obviously, you just said there you enjoy playing in the heat, which is fine. You went to a different state. You were fine because the conditions suited you, similar to England and the UK. So did the local players? Did they struggle a little bit then, going from state to state to play?
So then went over and was like it was cold. It was cold for them.
Right.
And they couldn't get used to the weather. And then now I can imagine how players come from abroad and come to the UK and they're like, this ain't for me because it's freezing. And they can't get to grips with it.
It's the American. It's how big the country is. Just fascinating for me, side because you know what I mean. I look at you know what I mean. When you played for Newport, I bet you did some ridiculous journeys. You know what I mean, down to Carlisle and things, which is just horrible trips.
Yeah.
But take you like 3 days on the bus. But what was obviously the travelling like within America? You know what I mean? Was it all flying to games? You know what I mean?
So we fly. So I think that's one of the good things. It was done so professional. When you think of like. When you look over there from the outside, you probably think, what do they do there? What do they do there? So on a Thursday, we'd get on a plane and we'd fly. So we'd fly to Miami for a game. So we'd go, get into the hotel, train the next day, play Saturday, then we'd leave Sunday. So we'd fly back Sunday. So it was all done pretty professional, yeah. And then we'd take a bus trip if it was 2 hours. 2 hours, I think. Anything over 2 hours was flying.
Was that the max, was it?
Living the dream, mate.
That's good, isn't it? I think it's also you've got to treat your players professionally, and
it's got to be.
You know what I mean? Instead of being on the road for so long, and you know what I mean, tiredness, and you know, for me, that just sounds so professionally run, and you don't get a bigger area than America and all the states and some of the travelling which is involved, and there's no point spending a day and a half on the road if you don't need to. If you can fly to games, and it's, you know what I mean, your preparation then can look to the next week, or you know what I mean. For me, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Spot on, mate. Reese asked, does the MLS and American football need promotion and relegation?
Yeah, I think it does. I think for it to get to the next level, I think it does. But there's so many. It's so much of a business over there. So they're all franchises. So you pay 250 mil just to get into the MLS. If you see your team get relegated into the USL, and you're paid all that money, you're just like, well, it's a lot of money. But I think for them to get as big as maybe as England, and to get a lot more players internationally over, maybe from the UK, and because they got a lot of Mexican, Spanish players, but for them to get a lot of English players. I think if they did have promotion and relegation, it would make it a lot more interesting, because there's so many teams that you look at the MLS and you think we could beat them on a Saturday. You know what I mean? They're not that great.
Yeah.
I think it's fair. I think it's fair side for me, because I think even I don't know, if you finish bottom of the MLS and you finish top of the USL. You have a playoff game against, and the winner takes all. You know what I mean? So you've got an opportunity then to stay in the league. You know what I mean? Because if you finish bottom, you finish bottom for a reason. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you don't want to finish bottom, league tables don't lie. Well, it depends who you listen to, who you talk to, but league tables do not lie, regardless who you are. And if you finish bottom, you deserve to be bottom. You deserve to have some kind of consequence. If that's relegation, so be it. If that's a playoff game against somebody else, and it gives you a one-off game and a one-off opportunity to show how good you are, and vice versa for the team who wants to go up, because we've always had promotion relegation in Europe. You know what I mean? And for the, you know what I mean? It's
adds
different, I
something,
think.
doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's different when the MLS was just coming in because there wasn't as many teams. You know what I mean? Now there's a host of teams now. You know what I mean? They could even have two teams now, two divisions now between them and go from there.
And a lot of them got B teams as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, yeah, because you've got Atlanta who've got a B team, haven't they? Who have a big attendance in the USL, and I know Stephen Glass is there. I know Stephen Glass has just gone to the first team to be caretaker manager, but Stephen Glass was ex-Newcastle Aberdeen was manager of the B team, and it makes a huge difference when you're getting crowd size of 14,000 in that league. Those guys, Keanu is one of them, deserves that opportunity to play MLS.
Yeah,
if they're good enough and the team's good enough, and progress on. Because imagine what the crowds are going to get if they're in the MLS.
Yeah,
just adds to the excitement. You probably get bigger crowds, I would have thought, if you're playing for promotion or you're trying to stay up.
Definitely.
Is there a cup system over there then, Keanu? What would allow USL and MLS to compete?
So they have basically like the FA Cup. They got a version of that over there.
Have they?
Yeah, but we didn't get to play it this year because obviously COVID. Yeah. So travelling to different states, and the bubbles and that. So that's for me. That's an insight of the difference between the clubs, and if the USL clubs are running quite close with the MLS clubs, for me, give them more of a chance, give them more of an opportunity to see if they can progress further and where they can go, because it's only fair. You know, I look at every other country in the world where promotion and relegation's there. It's there for a reason, to make it fair. If you're the best team, you get promoted. If you're the worst team, you go down, get relegated.
Spot on. I'm going to combine these two questions. So Gavin asked, what's the biggest stadium in the MLS and how many does it hold? And Richie asked, what's your favourite stadium to play at in the MLS?
I think Atlanta Stadium's probably one of the biggest.
It is, and it costs about
stadium.
It costs about $1 billion, isn't it, to build?
Did
apparently?
it?
Yeah. Ridiculous amount of money.
Something crazy.
Is it called the Mercedes Stadium or something?
I think that goes to about 80,000 maybe. Yeah. Maybe that, because they do quite a few events in it.
Yeah, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta United.
What is it? Atlanta United.
Atlanta United, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's outrageous.
And for me, the nicest stadium that I played in over there was it was a new one. It was Minnesota Stadium. So it was a brand new.
What made that so special and so nice?
I think because it was built brand new. We were the first guys to play in it, so I played there with the national team. So we played USA there. So we opened the game there.
Quality.
So it was packed. It was a packed out stadium. Majority was USA fans, but just that experience, obviously playing against those guys and in that stadium, it was amazing. Yeah.
And those kind of things, mate, that nobody can ever take away from you. Those kind of experiences, which are just, you know what I mean, that you know what I mean, it's just written in the stars sometimes and meant to be, that, you know what I mean, you're playing America in a brand new stadium that obviously they knew that was going to be set up to host that game, so it was built for that game, but they could have played anybody at that time for that first game, and it just happens that it was yourselves. And that's great, though. It's great. It's unbelievable to be involved in those kind of games. Absolutely fabulous.
Atlanta holds 73,000, just over. And it cost approximately $500 million to make. Wow. Or it's worth about $500 million, which Ridiculous. Is that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, isn't it?
So we'll come back to the questions towards the end. Keanu, what's your earliest football memory, and who was your idol as a kid?
I guess football memory probably would be going to a QPR game. That was my first ever professional game I went to with my brother and his best mate. I just remember my older brother saying to me, I've got tickets to a football match, we're going to go. And then just remember the experience. I think I was 5 or 6, and I still remember it to today. Went to the game, didn't really know what was going on, just knew I was in the crowd. There's a lot of noise. And I was just watching a game, and I always remember it. Obviously, the QPR, I can't remember who they played against, but that was my earliest memory.
Do you know what, as well, it's a really, really nice stadium, you know what I mean? The Loftus Road is just...
Proper football stadium, isn't it?
Yeah, proper one, yeah. You know, it's very tight-knit to the ground. It's always had a very good atmosphere there. It always seems to be quite full, you know what I mean? Even as many people live in there, you know what I mean? They've got a good fan base. You always see a lot of goals at Loftus Road as well, don't you, Canon? Because there's, you know what I mean? Because they either score loads, or they used to, and they let loads in now. So they're a great side to talk about and watch, because it's great. So was that the closest team growing up? Was it? Or was it
so
certain players who
growing up? So I think growing up, the closest stadiums to me was QPR Brentford and Fulham.
Right, okay. Yeah,
QPR.
QPR.
So were you QPR fan growing up?
More real.
No, I'm a Chelsea fan growing up.
Aim high, tell you, aim high. Who was your football idols then, Keanu, growing up? So, who was it? Who was it that you wanted to emulate? So, who were you when you were in the garden? Which player were you?
When I was younger, I'd probably say a bit of Zola and Robinho. Zola would be like footwork on the ball, and then Robinho just the way how he just entertained everyone, in the stadium.
Yeah, which is great. It's like a great mix, isn't it? You know what I mean? And that kind of question is just so broad, and it gives such a different answer from everybody because everybody's different. Like growing up as a Chelsea fan, I remember playing against Chelsea, and you're playing against the Vialis, the Torandra Floors, and you know what I mean. But the Zola for me made them tick. Every time he got the ball, he got in those kind of pockets and in areas which he just didn't give the ball away. The size of him, nothing fazed him. To play in Italy at the highest level, to play for your country, your national team, to win all the things that he won, and then to go to Chelsea in the Premier League, which you said earlier on about the English league being physical, didn't faze him one little bit. And size doesn't count in football, and as long as you're good enough and you've got the ability and the desire, it's just a fantastic thing. But now he was a top player was Gianfranco, really good player.
Yeah.
How did you kind of get your break as a kid, Keanu? Like, what did you get scouted, or kind of just gradually make your way into the academy systems and stuff like that? So
I remember playing at. So my older brother was at Brentford in the academy when he was younger, and I would go down there and watch him train, and I just messing around, kicking the ball in the cage area. And then I remember there was a scout down there at the time called Mac. His name was Mac, and he was a scout for Chelsea. So he invited me down to come to Chelsea when I was about 6. I think I was 6, and that was the first club I played for as a kid. And I went straight into the academy. Wow. And I was there until I went to Arsenal. Yeah.
Arsenal. So I remember I played against Arsenal. I might be wrong here, by the way, but I'm sure it was something on the lines of, was it Senrab Juniors or something like that we played against? Is that right? Does that ring a bell with anybody?
Say that again. Sorry.
Senrab Juniors. Have we just made that up?
The name rings a bell, but.
So when I was younger, it was like I wasn't like a makeshift, but it was like players who come through like an Arsenal academy, but they weren't allowed to be called Arsenal, so they played in that kind of that junior football team, and they were an unbelievable side, very physical, played some unbelievable football. We just couldn't live with teams like that all over the place, but no. What I mean? It was just great. So you said there about going through to Chelsea. Obviously, you signed for or spent some time at Arsenal as well. Before making a move to Fulham, and obviously you came through the youth ranks at Fulham. So how important was that for your development and your football development?
Yeah, I think being at Arsenal was probably vital for football development for me and a lot of players. Like I saw an interview the other day of Luke Ayling saying he wouldn't be the footballer he is now if it wasn't for that Arsenal academy, because he likes to think he's good on the ball, and he's got all that DNA from Arsenal. And I think he's right. When you're there from such a young age and they teach you the right way to play, and like the players you play with, it sticks with you forever.
I totally agree.
And I enjoyed my time there. I love my time there. I still speak to a few of the guys that I was with at the time, and I think that was important to the way I play football now.
So when you say there that it's important, the DNA. So just to explain to people, you know what I mean, that you're like a sponge, aren't you? You know what I mean. At a young age, you're like a sponge. You take everything in. You know what I mean. That you learn your techniques, you learn your skills. You know what I mean. You don't get taught how to play in a certain position, play in a certain formation. You're just manipulating the ball. You're playing the ball. You're doing your skills. You can do your control and it's just so important to learn at as young age as you can. You know what I mean. Because I've come across loads of players who they've got these attributes, but they lack this fundamental thing of coaching at a young age, and you can just see it from a mile off, and you feel really sorry because you can't turn the clock back. And unfortunately, it stands out like a sore thumb sometimes. You know what I mean? You can have this desire, you can have these aspirations about wanting to play as high as you can for as long as you can, which is great. But you also need talent, and talent starts at a young age, and talent is not just the football talent. It's having these knocks and getting back up off the canvas and starting all over again. And it's refreshing, mate. You know what I mean? So obviously, I've been speaking to you for a while about various things, and just listen to your aspirations. It's evident for me, listening to you've had a really good upbringing. You know what I mean, and the people that you've said there, Luke Aylan. You know what I mean. Like, we do a championship show on a Friday, and Luke was in my. Luke must have made my top 2 every week, so I didn't. You know what I mean? From his
last year he was in there all the time. From his
bombing on as a fullback to some of the goals he scored, some of the defending he did. You know what I mean? He was outrageous. You know, for a fullback in the championship to be your best attacking player, because that's what he was week in, week out for Leeds last year. He was Leeds United's best attacking player, and you know what I mean. To be able to have that Arsenal DNA in him. Means that he's had the right upbringing, you know what I mean, and it's then having a positive influence now in his career, you know what I mean, and you can't turn the clock back, and you can't change that, which is great. You obviously started with and you've had a couple of loan moves in your career. How important is loan moves? You know what I mean? Because I spoke quite positively about them, and they were great for me because of various things: game time, experience, being a man, playing men's football. You know what I mean? How important was it for you, and what did you learn from them?
Yeah, I think it was important. I think when I was in America, me and one of my teammates were speaking about, and I think I was 17 when I went on my first loan move, and I went to MK Dons, and I was training with Fulham's first team every day. I was traveling with them in squads, on the bench, being on the bench in the squad, and in the back of my head, I was thinking, I could play. I'm ready to play now. That's how confident I was. I was like, I could enter for him now. Like, I'm better than what he's doing on the weekend. And so I went on my loan move to MK Dons, and I think it was the best thing that happened to me, like playing football week in, week out at such a young age, being exposed to different things. And I got my first league goal against Brentford at home, and then that season got to League One playoff semi-final.
It's so important, though, you say there, and you can see how passionate you are about your first league goal, because you remember it, and you remember it like it's yesterday, which is quite sad. You know, I remember mine. It was 27 years ago or something. It's mad to think, but you always remember it because you get that first break in football. You know that you get that buzz. You know what I mean? Nothing gets you ready for playing men's football. You know what I mean? 1 minute you're playing in the academy, playing in the reserves, in front of nobody, and then all of a sudden, overnight, you're playing in front of a crowd. In a game which means something, and I mean when I say means something, there's points at the end of it. You know what I mean? I know that might sound stupid to people who listen and watch, but it doesn't in terms of Pontins League. And I'll go back to that. I know it wasn't called Pontins League when you played, when you played, if you ever played any reserve games, Keanu. But Pontins League was a reserve league, which it was nice to play because I was a young kid and I was playing against men, but there was nothing at the end of it. If I won, I think I got a £16 bonus, which was great. It makes it put my wage packet up a little bit, but it was nothing more than or nothing less than that. But it was all about going on loan, playing in front of 15,000, 20,000 fans, and enjoying my football and learning the trade and learning how to be a man. Most importantly,
and I didn't realise that until I made my debut at I think it was Sheffield Wednesday away.
Which is not a bad game to play.
Yeah, and I think there was about 19,500 fans there. My mum and dad was off in the crowd with my brothers. And I remember the first, started the game, kick off, and then I remember dribbling with the ball. And someone's come over and just gave me an arm and I went flying. And after that, I remember thinking in my head, I was like, well, I'm in a men's game now. And then I ended up getting a 6-minute penalty, and then I played well that game. Ended up getting a standing ovation from the stadium when I come off.
Well, which is something you'll never forget. You'll never forget it. Yeah, but things like it makes it a proud moment for your parents, for your brother, and if there's places to play and make your debut. By the way, Hillsborough is you know what I mean. As a fan, I've been there as a fan. I played there in a youth team game, played in a reserve game, played there as first team game. And it's such a nice place to play. You know what I mean. The cop behind the goal is just ridiculous, and when it's full of fans, it's just there's no better place to play because it's so passionate as well. And you know, it's a great stadium to play football in.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, you had a stint in Wales, mate, as well, a bit more recently.
Yeah.
How Johnny wants to know if you enjoyed your time at Newport and, more importantly, in God's country, in the mighty Wales. What was it like up here, down here?
Obviously, I'm still living in Newport now. So,
yeah.
So I signed there when I left Forest Green, and to be fair, had a good pre-season and brand new team. Started off the season, played the first game, and then I think 2 games in, I picked up a muscle injury, which I've never had before in my quad. So, yeah, I was out for about a week. Or was it 4 weeks? I was out for about 4 weeks with the quad injury. Came back into training, played a second game, and it's gone again. I was out for about 4 or 5 months. So I missed a huge chunk of the season through like these muscle injuries, and I would try and come back, and then it just kept breaking down. I was like, flipping out, like, what's wrong with it? Like, I'm doing right, my diet's right, I'm doing the right things in the gym, and I don't know what, it just kept happening, kept breaking down. So I think that was mentally a tough part at the beginning of the season, and then got past January now, was fit, so I finished off the season quite strong, then went into the Gold Cup with Guyana, came back nice and fit, like sharp, full of confidence, and I remember on my way in first day of pre-season, my mate messaged me and just said, like before I got into stadium, he was like, just so you know, before you get in, like, I was trying to offer up the squad number. I was like, but no, I ain't even got in yet. He couldn't have called me in the summer, so I've got in there now. Didn't really say anything to me at the beginning, and then I just remember saying, "Oh, can we have a chat?" I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "Look, if a club comes in for you, like, you're free to go. We won't ask for a fee." He was like, "You're just not in my plan." So I was like, "All right, fair enough. Like, you could have told me this last month, so I could have sorted myself out, but
yeah,
it is what it is." Clubs ended up coming in for me, and then it wasn't that you could go on a free anymore. It was like, we want a fee kind of thing. So it got into a difficult kind of situation where it ended up saying, "Look, if you just let me go, we'll leave, shake hands, didn't work out, whatever, or I'm just gonna sit here and I'm just gonna be here, and you don't really want me here." So that ended up happening. I ended up just training with the team. I got put in the reserves to try and train with the kids, try and force me out to go to like the conference, and I was like, don't want to go to conference. I had loan moves to go to league clubs, just getting blocked. So I ended up just training, and then it got to a point where I was like, look, I've had enough of this. And that was around 6 months in. I was like, look, I've had enough of this. To myself, I just want to get out and play football now. So I've gone in, had the conversation, and said, look, we can mutually agree to cancel my contract because I want to move on. I don't want to keep doing this anymore. And then it came to the point where obviously I got the call from Tim Howard, and I went over to Memphis. But I wouldn't say like the whole experience in Newport's been bad, because I had the birth of my daughter when I was up in Newport, and I've had some good memories here. So met some good people. So it's a good and a bad thing. I think it's life experiences. What happens, but it's made me stronger as a person.
Listen, I totally agree. There's so many things what you're saying. Just synergies with myself that until you've been in that situation where you're training on your own, or you're training with the reserves, or you're training with the kids, it's so demoralising. You know what I mean? Listen, I was probably, and Si probably knows. Well, Si knows this from just me being me, but I'm so stubborn, it's unbelievable. And when somebody tells me that I've got to do something, well, no, I don't have to do something. I'll do it when I want to do it. So I'll dig my heels in. I'll dig my heels in even further because you're telling me to do it. Sometimes you just want a club, to be honest. You know what I mean? You said there about why didn't the club just tell me a month before? We could have shook hands. I've got 4 or 5 weeks just to look for myself and take my time in making a decision. You know that clubs can be so selfish at times.
Well, then to go back on the fee and letting you go for free as well. Yeah. It's like they want you, don't they, when it suits them, and as soon as they decide that
they don't.
But then I've sorry to interrupt you, And, as well.
It's all right.
Like whereas Keanu was telling like what had happened then, I was like, agree with you. To tell him the day he was coming back and not tell him a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever before, to give him time to sort something out is not great. And then when you go on and they went back on letting you go for free, and then they blocking loan moves and things like that, it's just, to me, that's just, it's petty. But it's also like, if you don't want a player, whoever, not just, you know, Newport, whoever, any club, if you don't want a player, let them go. Whether that's for a fee or for a free, you sort that out. But don't say one thing, do another, and hold up a player's career, because a footballer's career it's not the longest career, is it? So let's just...
Yeah, but I look at it on the other side as well, though. You know what I mean? There's no point being selfish between the two, because Keanu said there, he could have easily sat on his contract for the rest of his contract and took the club for every penny of his contract, and rightly so, by the way, because they've offered him it, he signed it, and you know what I mean? If he had the... if you want
they're the one who went back on it.
You know what I mean? So for me, I think clubs need to be quite fortunate and lucky that they come across sometimes some nice players who just want to go and play. You know what I mean? There's nothing worse than not playing. There's nothing worse than playing with the kids and playing with the reserves and playing in these meaningless games and doing all this rubbish stuff that you don't want to do, and seeing the first team train and not being in the squad on a Saturday. You know, there's no worse position as a footballer than being on a Saturday not playing the game, or you know what I mean, watching. You know, I love Jeff Stelling, you know what I mean, and I've become friends with him, which is great. But I used to hate watching him on a Saturday afternoon when my team was playing, because you know what I mean, I wanted to be out there, and when my team scored, I'd be disappointed because I was jealous that I wasn't out there, and you know what I mean, and when they give a goal away, I was gutted as well because I wasn't there to help out. You know what I mean? I felt guilty both ways that I couldn't be where I wanted to be, and I just think clubs have a responsibility towards players, like players have a responsibility towards clubs, that, you know what I mean, just help each other out, because it's not easy. It's a difficult situation for everybody. So, you know what I mean, for me, just let players go and play, and if players are in your plans, then utilise them as well. Spot
on, mate. Spot on. I'll be waiting for Jeff Stelling to be sat across from us then on one Monday, is it?
Yeah. Well, I was looking for the moment where he was going to leave Sky, because I think that was touch and go. When all the lads left, so I think we would have had a better opportunity then. But
it's a tricky one to get in.
Yeah, let's see.
What was it like playing in the Gold Cup, Keanu? That must have been incredible.
Yeah, it was the whole experience itself was probably one of the best I've experienced in football. To share that with like friends that I grew up playing with, and just to experience it on an international level, it was one thing I always remember. It was great, and a great experience.
One question I want to ask you, Keanu, is obviously you came through the ranks with England. You played for the 16s and 17s. You played for England C. So when was the moment that you decided then to change your international routes? And was that personally just to get some first team recognition and to play at the level you played at?
I think it got to the point where I remember being at England under, I think, 17s, played a few games there, and then
I'm still in, mate. I can hear you, don't worry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I remember playing England under 17s, and then I used to be I used to play right back. Coming up when I was at Fulham, I used to play right back, right wing,
like Cafu, bombing on.
Yeah. So I was always just bombing on. So playing for England under 16s, 17s, I was always playing right back, and then as I got older in Fulham, I moved forward into winger. So I spoke to the national team coach at the time, which was, I think it was John Peacock and Kenny Swain, and they was like, look, we want you in the team, but we want to play right back, but you're not playing there, and we got someone else playing in the position you're playing in now. And I was like, well, it was one of those things. I remember speaking to Fulham, and they was like, nah, we want to push you on, and we see you getting into the first team in this position. So it was one of them ones. So after a while, I think I played a few more games with England under 17s, and then I didn't really get called back into another squad just because of the position I was playing in. Even though I was getting put into the first team with Fulham, and there was other guys that wasn't. They wanted someone playing in that position, you know. And then after playing England C, that was enjoyable because I got another call out to play for England when I was older. I was always excitement and proud to put on the shirt, no matter what level it was. And then it got to a point where I've had a few calls from Guyana, and I was like, at the time, I was like, the team's not. I don't really know anyone in the team. I don't want to go there and just. I don't want to be losing. I don't want to go somewhere and lose. I want to go somewhere and compete.
Yeah.
So I said, I remember speaking to the recruitment, and I was like, if you get like a good enough team together, then obviously I'll consider it. So I remember my older brother played for them before me, and he was like, "Key, like you would enjoy it. The team's building. It's on the road to get more players, international-based players to come in and play for the country, and we're going to do well." So I was like, "Look, okay, I commit to it." So I got called into a squad in March, and I think it's probably the best thing I've ever done. That was a qualifying game.
My next question was going to say you just answered it there, by the way, so I will ask it anyway. So no regrets then, I'm guessing, about changing alliances.
Nah, no regrets. Obviously, growing up, I've always had that dream. I want to play for England.
Yeah.
And when I was at Fulham, I was thinking, if I get into the first team, which at the time I thought I could get into the first team and play a few games. And the manager at the time I had there was Roy Hodgson, and in football, I'd say he was kind of like a father figure, because he took me under his wing. He'd always give me advice, always speak to him, like one of the best coaches I've had. And if I'd got into the Fulham's first team, the way things worked out, he ended up going into the England national team. You never know, I could have got a call up.
Yeah, totally agree.
But that's life. I think you always think, what could happen? But I don't regret playing for Guyana. I've enjoyed every moment and every minute playing.
Yeah. No, mate, I was just about to say, you know what I mean, for me, you made the right decision, you know what I mean, to achieve what you achieved with the country that you're playing for, and what's around the corner with the games that are coming up. You know what I mean, for me, I go and smash it and go and take it all in your stride, because that's what it's about. It's about making memories. It's about making just not just for yourself, for your family and for other people. You know that there's, you know what I mean, you've got those
for the fans.
You've got those recollections of the fans last time you qualified for the Gold Cup. So why can't it happen again and be bigger and better? You know. So for me, I think it's the future's bright. One thing, obviously, I spoke about at the start. You know what I mean. Obviously Wembley. You know what I mean. You just said there about wanting to play for England and things. So how proud of a moment, when was it to step out of Wembley, just to play at Wembley, before we go on about that goal?
Yeah, so I remember we done a stadium tour the day before the game, and I was like, I could see Wembley from my house where I grew up. And as a kid, I was like, one day I want to play Wembley. And then I remember we beat, I think it was Dover in the semi-finals, and we all realised we was going to Wembley. And then walking out there on a match day, I was like, wow, like, played against Grimsby in the final. They brought a lot of fans down, and it was a great experience. I think that I probably had one of the best games of my career on that day, even though we lost in that final. I think that was one of the best games. Just
save your best games for the big occasions. I like it. Let's talk about the goal then, because you know what I mean. Listen, to score any goal is great, but to score a goal that you scored in that game, on that stage, you know what I mean, on that pitch, in that surroundings, is just outrageous. You know what I mean. What was going through your mind when you got the ball? Because you know what I mean. If you're probably an opposition manager, player, coach, goalkeeper, you're probably thinking, hit it, go on, I dare you. You know what I mean, and you did, and then the rest is history, so to speak.
So I would like to think that my long range shooting is kind of like a speciality that I've got, so keepers wouldn't expect it, like the pop shot, because I don't really get a lot of backlift on it. So in the first half, I remember I tried two before, one hit post and then one got deflected, and my striker, I think John Parkin at the time, nearly tapped it in. So I just remember we was losing the game, and I don't know what was going through my mind, but all I could keep thinking was like, I need to try and win this game for my team, or what can I do to win this game for my team? That's the mentality I had at the time.
Yeah.
So I just remember looking over my shoulder. I knew where the goal was. And I just like touch at my feet and just hit. And the ball came to me, put in a pocket. I remember, opened up. I didn't even look up at the time. I was just looking down at the ball, and I've just hit it, and it flew in the top corner.
How did you feel? How did you feel?
Scotcho.
At the time, I was like, what a finish. In my head, I was thinking, what a finish. And then I was like...
In my head, watching it today, I'm thinking, what a finish.
Yeah, and I was like, we got 15 minutes left. Like, we could win this. That was the first thing that I thought about. We could win this final. Being 2-1 down, I was like, we could win this. And to be honest, we should have won the game. We had chances at the end, and then unfortunately, we didn't win it that year. But ended up going back there the year after, the season after, and we won it.
How disappointed were you to lose it? You know what I mean? Was it a burden on yourself? Did you take it tough, or did the goal help get over the defeat? Difficult one. I know.
Oh, it was a difficult one. Yeah, I always remember the goal. I always remember the goal. Now I think, yeah, that was the best goal I've scored in my career. But I remember that season, going into the season after, it played on my mind the whole season. Like, I remember playing on my mind, like, we lost in the final. I remember seeing Grimsby going up, playing in the league, and I'm like, like they beat us. And then that whole season just played on me. I was like, I remember that interview after the game, and I said, like, we will be back here next year and we will win. And we ended up going back there, and we won. We beat Tranmere in the final. We went up. So,
which one was best then? The defeat by scoring the worldie goal, or the promotion? That's an awful question, by the way. What an awful question that is.
Cheers,
I think nothing beats getting promoted, but nothing beats getting promoted. But I think scoring a goal in Wembley, like, especially that goal was. I
think I know from obviously my own experiences that the calibre of your goal deserved to win any game. And I know people say that as a cliche, but if anybody hasn't seen it, I put it on Twitter this morning, and it deserves to win 5 games, never mind just one. But yeah, you mentioned there about John Parkin. Obviously, I know I've known Parky for a number of years. He played for Cardiff City. How pleasing or easy was he to play with the way that he played?
Yeah, like, obviously he played with him the whole season, and they called him the Beast.
Yeah.
But he was so easy to play with.
He's a beast and more, I think. He's a beast and more.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's
like, people look at him and think he's just a big guy, but he was so good with his feet.
Yeah.
Like, it's me playing with him. He was so easy to play with, and probably one of the funniest guys. I lived with him for a bit, like, in the house, and he was a funny guy. Yeah.
Do you find that disrespectful, what people say about players? And have you ever came across it yourself, that people say probably unfair things about yourself, that because you've got pace, people probably then think that I don't know, let's say you're offside all the time. I'm not saying you are, I'm just saying, you know, where people say about Parky that he's a big lad, he should be winning more headers, or he's not as good touch. You know, that I think people were disrespectful about me at times, you know what I mean? Say, because I was a slight figure of a I was going to call myself a man then, but probably a mouse. But I think sometimes people can be a little bit disrespectful, can't they?
Yeah, I think I've kind of come across that a bit. People think, like you said, like, he might be offside, or because he's got pace, put him behind him, get after it. And like, same with Parky, I think because he was a big guy, they just thought he should be winning flick-ons, or he should be bullying his defender, or doing something that. But nah, I think it's different. I think when you look into it deeper, obviously you get to know what the player can actually do.
You mentioned something about offside there. Well, I've had this. I used to say the same thing, and I said a few times, I'd always blame the midfielders and the defenders that don't pass it quick enough. You know what I mean? For me, it's You know what I mean? If they were a little bit quicker up there, then you'd match me with my feet, because you know what I mean. And when people say radio, newspaper, it wasn't social media back in the day when I played, but it was like Andy Campbell offside again. Well, no, they weren't as quick as I was. You know what I mean? Thinking mentally, so I always got away with it like that. I was offside, loads, but it is, isn't it?
That's true. I agree. I do agree with that.
Right, we're going to finish. Kind of with some questions from the live chat, and then I've got a question to finish.
Okay.
Si, where are we? Can you see them, or do you need me to go through some?
Yeah, no, I got them at the moment because everything was going so smoothly. Something had to happen, didn't it?
I know. I've got some derogatory comments on the group chat saying that I'm still doing it now. All those offside. Thanks, Steve. Love that. My dad had a question for.
Right, I got some up. So Go on, have you got your dad's up there now?
Well, my dad's given the question, Keanu. So it says, have you got any plans for when you finish playing, and what do you want to do? I know that's obviously a long way away, and obviously we had a conversation about quite a similar thing, by the way. So I haven't been giving my dad some questions to give you, by the way. But have you ever thought about what the future holds past football?
I'd like to. Well, not what I'd like. Well, I was already in the process of doing a few things of my own, like a business, like a clothing line. I know everyone does it, but something of I have a passion of mine, like fashion.
Nice.
I'm into fashion and a lot of art, so it's something I'd want to get into.
You might be able to give me insight. You might be able to give me insight, some advice.
No.
A bit in football. I would like to stay in football, but I don't know what I want to do. What I want to do in football after playing it and having the good side and the bad side. I don't know what I would want to do. I don't think I want to be in that coaching role, but I'd like to do something in
the dog eat dog.
Well,
yeah, well, I always said that, and I fell into management at part-time, semi-professional football, part-time football, and to be honest, I nearly fell out of love with whole football because of it. Because it was a full-time job in semi-professional football, and it was just a pain in the backside, and so much pressure for so little reward, and it was just, you know what I mean? If that's what people have got to go through in order to get where they need to be, it was too much of the ladders was never ending. I think it was like the Empire State Building, and I was on a little mini ladder, and it was just going to take me 3 years to get where I even wanted to start, and it was just, and that's if you're successful all of the time. It's so hard. We've got a question from Donna. I know it is, mate. Yeah, we've got a question from Donna Perry. Do you think? I'll rephrase it because she said, "Do you think soccer will ever become more popular in America than American football?"
No, I don't think it will be.
Why is that? Is that because of how big structurally it is?
I just think
finance,
how the amount of money is pumped in there, and I think if you had promotion, relegation, more to play for, I think you'd get more viewers. But I think the way with like American football, are you talking about American football in it over here?
Well, both. So compare soccer to American football.
Oh, so yeah, I think you got like the Super Bowl, and all those kind of and you got like college football over there. One thing, like I was speaking to a few of the guys, and like the college football over there, they're getting fans of like 40, 50, 60,000 people. Like,
it's mental, isn't it?
Yeah,
and that's the difference, isn't it? You know that everyone, however age, however old you are, you know what I mean. You know the Miami Dolphins, you know the Super Bowl, you know what I mean. You see the amount of people watching it live. You know what I mean? In the Rose Bowl, for example, or you watch it live at midnight when it used to be on Channel 4. You know what I mean? And it was just, it was absolutely ridiculously big, and still is now. It's grown to another level, and you know what I mean. And that's because of a sponsorship, the size of clubs, the money invested in things, and it's absolutely fantastic. And and I think it needs to continue. And if it continues, it will help grow soccer. I think it won't have a negative impact. I think it'll have a positive impact because clubs could interlink. They'll obviously compare at the same stadium, so it can have a positive impact on things like that because the facilities, I'm guessing, are second to none and unbelievable. So it's all good. We've got a question from Richie Thomas, and Richie said, "Is the academy set up in America for soccer? Is that the same as it was back in the UK when you were at like Fulham?"
No, so that's one thing I think they really need to get better at. They're starting to do the process, and you've got some clubs that do have a proper academy set up and structure, but a lot of the teams over there don't really have a proper academy set up. So that's why you don't really see a lot of homegrown or kids breaking through into the first team. You see the odd one every now and then. But
so what needs to change then, or what do they need? What do they need to do?
I think because it's so business orientated, they just focused on the franchise, my team in the MLS, and that's it. They just focused on the MLS. I think for clubs to get better and have more of a community and bring more fans, they got to have that infrastructure of having an academy. Because if you get 7, 8 players that make it through to the first team through in say the Miami area, you're going to get hundreds of kids wanting to do the same, but then you're going to get
Totally
thousands
agree.
of fans wanting to follow it.
Totally agree. I'm going to show my age here.
Yeah.
So how are you going to find the next Alexia Lalas, John Harkes, Roy Wegerle, Landon Donovan, Brad Guzan, Tim Howard? How are you going to find the next American superstars if they're not training, they're not playing competitive games, they're not building them through? You know that people have to go overseas to go and play. You know what I mean? And it's difficult. You know what I mean? I know. We were talking the other day about he was an American player who plays for Borussia Dortmund, or his dad used to be an American football player, American soccer, and it's so important to have people going back to making the full squad strong. You know what I mean? But you've got to have, for me, structurally things right in place. If that's having 3 players under 20-year-old, all American, playing for your clubs. You know what I mean? There's got to be something. You know what I mean? I've been a big advocate of, when I played in Scottish football. At the time, there was 5 players in the squad in Scotland had to be born in Scotland. So you know what I mean. So the squads and the things were built. You know what I mean, in terms of around that. You know what I mean? Even Celtic had the Sean Maloney's, the Scott Browns, all these kind of players. You know, Rangers had to adapt. I was playing for Dunfermline at the time. They had to adapt and have younger players, but you still need to be competitive, still want to try and win things. But the only way forward is by implementing those kind of things in place.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is important. I think that's. Well, I might have another one. The biggest issue US soccer faces is away fans. Oh, that's the thing. So when you do play away, then, so do you get many people following for away games? Is there much away travel for fans? Do fans travel all the way to watch you play?
So obviously, for the first game, we wasn't a pandemic, so we experienced the full how the season was, and we played Indy 11 away at home. So they travelled with their fans. I think they brought about 4,000 fans.
Jesus, that's impressive. I thought you were going to say like 4 fans.
Yeah.
Because I thought, that's
they brought about 4,000, and they would have flown over. So with the team, So the support system over there is so much bigger than you would see in like League 1, League 2.
Well, you just said there. You said 4,000 fans coming away from home from away travel. That's bigger than probably 75-80% of attendances alone in League 1 and League 2. You know what I mean? In a minute. So, probably before pre-COVID. So, for me, it shows how big the potential it's got in the US and overseas, and that's that can only be good for the football and entice people over there to play, which is absolutely great. I think, Si, unless you've got any more questions, I've been through some of them.
I was able to hear most of it. I just couldn't talk. I think Gaz asked the weekly question of who's the biggest knobhead you've met in football.
I've seen that one earlier.
Which is what it is, I suppose. If there's no one which sticks out,
probably Stephen Gleeson, who was Amked midfielder.
Is there a story behind that, or are we just going to leave it at the name?
I just remember playing a game. We played in the semi-final against Peterborough. We was losing 2-1, and then I dribbled down the side of the pitch, crossed it, got a corner, and then he started having a go at me to pass in the ball, and I was like, we've gone off on one, had a little argument, and he's kept going at the end of the game, and I was like, after that, I was like, you're an army.
That's just teammates for you, isn't it? It just baffles me. Baffles me. Right. So, what does the future hold for KMB? So, what does the future hold? So, obviously, we've been talking, and we're going to continue to talk, and we're going to try and going to help you achieve your footballing dream, because I know you've just obviously signed with Black Diamond Sports, which is great and obviously fantastic news for the company. But what's your career ambition and goals for the rest of your career?
Just to try and get to the highest level as possible, whether that's in the UK or playing abroad again, going abroad to want to be playing at a high level, high standard, and I want to play for things and try and win things, you know.
Yeah.
I want to compete with the best and the top, and just have no regrets in what I'm doing.
Which is, for me, is just an unbelievable way to finish side for me, because it just shows. It just shows, you know what I mean, that achieve what you can achieve out the game, and have goals which are set high. You know what I mean? I look at we've had this conversation, and I'm not something I haven't said to him previously about. I feel as though people like Keanu have earned the stripes, you know what I mean, and people who've watched will probably back me up in the chat, and you know what I mean, that he's learnt the hard way, you know what I mean. He's had knocks and had some good times along the way, you know what I mean. He's had some really, really highs, but you've had some really, really lows as well, you know what I mean. And to have those lows and still come back and still wanting to achieve more from the game is a credit to you. You know that I did a really interesting show with Si on Sunday. I know somebody put a comment in the group chat. It might have been Gaz, that nobody understands how high the highs are in football, but the lows sometimes are just outrageous, and it hits you really hard. You know what I mean? And it's hard to explain. You know, I think sometimes I get lost in the moment and I'm trying to explain things, but you know what I mean. I used to love that uncertainty of winning and losing, because it's just a game. But sometimes football is more than that. You know what I mean? When you have a really bad game, or you've got things on your mind, and something happens within just craziness of the game, it's just. But no, for me, achieve your dream, and I'm sure. Well, I know things are gonna take off unbelievably well for KMB9, and for me, watch this space, because I think there's something good going to happen.
100%, mate. I completely agree with that.
One thing I will, and I've just tried to do the maths there, but was Chrissy Barker at Forest Green when you were there? Was he youth team manager when you were there?
Yeah. So I remember. So I played against him when he was at Aldershot a few times, because he was left back, and I was like, I remember playing one time against him, and I was like, I couldn't get past him.
He's a big lad.
Yeah, I was like, why can't I get past him? Like he was just always there. And then we had another game against him. I ripped him to shreds. And then the next time I saw him at Forest Green. So the year that I was coming to the end of my contract at Forest Green, I saw him quite a bit he was in and around the stadium with the youth team coach, and he was a great guy, good guy.
Yeah, top fella, top fella. And you know what he's made. He makes and just that story alone is great, because he makes so many impressions on people, and that kind of impression. And I just so wish that he knew those kind of stories, because you know, I mean, things would have been a hell of a lot different. I know that, but no, it's great, because he was that kind of guy, you know. And you know what, he'll come off that pitch after being ripped up by you, and he'll just laughed about it, because that's just the way he was. That, you know what I mean. If he played well or didn't play well, he didn't really have a care in the world, and that's just the kind of person he was. But no, what a fitting way to finish that, I think.
Spot on, mate. You can check out our episode of with Andy, Mental Health and Sport, episode 2. Came out yesterday. It's available everywhere: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. Next week we've got next Sunday, 8:00, David Cottrell. We're also rebranding the Kevin McNaughton show to Kevin McNaughton Unscripted Uncensored, because we were having some problems with the clips which people were sending. They kept getting copyright strikes on YouTube, so didn't want to do that. So we switched it up, so you can start sending questions on anything. Doesn't have to be football related. So you might hear Kevin McNaughton talking politics. You never know. Of course, we got loads of top shows and guests coming. Most excitingly, the Championship show on Friday, mate, with Cardiff City picking up a win on the weekend. I look forward to talking about that. And all the signings.
A quick well done to Charlotte Potts, because we had Charlotte on the show on Friday.
Yeah, how did she get on?
They won 2-1 against Spartans it was yesterday. Yeah, Sunday. Yeah, so well done to her. Awesome. And the Hibernian ladies.
Indeed. Fantastic. That's good to hear, mate. It's good to hear. Hopefully the guests' form will now continue as they'll just keep winning.
All because of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Big thank you to Black Diamond Sports as ever, and of course Bespoke Financial for sponsoring the show. Keanu, thank you for joining us, mate. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it massively, mate. I know you're jet lagged, but you've had a good chat with us. And of course, Thank you to everyone who's watched, tuned in, commented, liked. Couldn't do it without you guys. Appreciate it. Spread the word. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And we'll see you Friday, 7 o'clock for the championship show. And we'll be back next Monday with another top guest from the football world. Until then, have a good week.
Cheers, guys.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told Mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if Mummy or Daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.